Welcome, everyone, to the California Newcomer Project Agency Learning and Support Series. We're glad you're here. And today's topic is about building bridges, ways to create great partnerships and coordination to support yourself, your agencies, and most of all, clients in getting the resources that they need. We'll do a few introductions here in the beginning. We are Solvera, and a team of experts coming from the resettlement field ourselves and other humanitarian work, so really grounded in the field and many of the experiences that you might be having or have had. This is a project in collaboration with the California Department of Social Services Refugee Programs Bureau, and it's really to support newcomers and ORR eligible populations. It has four main components. First is information gathering, hearing things from you in the field. We have several ways to do that. We've done a landscape analysis. You've got ways to complete feedback surveys, submit questions in advance. You've got our emails. We would love to hear from you and make a call. You're here today for a webinar. Thank you for joining. And we also will be doing regional in-person trainings. And then, as always, you can visit supportguide.org. Check out that provider directory to find folks near you, the information exchange, and then all of the materials that we're creating, these webinars, these presentations are available there as well. A few reminders for today about the session, some housekeeping items. Everyone is on mute, so thank you. If you see questions, we'll be using the Q&A feature. So if you're familiar with Zoom, go ahead and open that Q&A feature. As you have questions, let us know. That's the main way that you're going to be able to ask about the content today. And then we'll read those out at the end for the Q&A or answer them as we go along. Remember, you will get all of these slides and this presentation. So feel free to take notes, but know you're getting the information too. We're going to launch an anonymous Zoom poll here. So let us know who's in the room, what's going on. So how long, what county do you live in? Helps us know kind of where folks are. And then how long have you been providing services? This helps us really tailor the information as we continue in our session today. I'll leave that up for another few seconds, and let's see, we've got about 60% of participants coming in. We'll flash these results here in a moment, but looks like folks are mainly in the LA, Orange County, Sacramento, San Diego, Santa Clara areas, as we would expect, the refugee impacted counties. It's great to have you on the line. And then a good mix, about 30% across, folks that are new in the field, been here for a little bit of time, and then those that have been here for over 5 years. So thank you for participating. I'll share those results now for a moment so you can get a look at them as well. And then finally, there we go. Thanks. What is today's session, right? And what are the learning goals? So we're in the Building Bridges session to come October, November. We're going to take a break. You're going to start the new fiscal year. It's going to be great. And then we'll wrap up December and 2025 with one of my favorite topics, motivational interviewing. Can't get enough of that topic and reminders. Today, what we're talking about, like I said, is community partnerships, effective client care and coordination, and really trying to prevent any service duplication as well. We'll be giving you practical tools of how to advance with this, how to find potential partners, and tips for securing those in the best way possible. A few things that we are talking about today, that directory, partnership examples. We'll give some practical examples. We'll open the chat a few times for total engagement. And then some of the things that we're not going to be talking about today, it's really anything to do with procurement, funded awards, or working with kind of requests for proposals and some letters of support and those more formal elements in it. So as we endeavor in a learning environment, there's a few agreements that we always make together. We're going to be curious. We're going to offer mutual respect to everyone on the line, especially when we open up that chat. share your feedback. We want to hear from you. You did just see some elements in the chat window there about how to get a hold of us, ways to provide feedback after the session. And then, as always, regarding reflecting on our why, we're all here because we believe in the work we're doing, because we believe in the opportunity to make impact in our communities with newcomers and to partner with one another. So thank you for being here, and we really appreciate it. Today's session, like we talked about, is about the power of partnerships, and we have Carissa here to present on this topic. She has over 8 years of experience in building and strengthening community partnerships. She's managed teams at refugee resettlement agencies, led caseworkers, really fostered collaboration to expand that client access to vital services. Her partnership work and development work goes deep, though. For instance, at a domestic violence shelter, she helped revitalize the community development department, increasing volunteer involvement by over 200% in 1 year and expanding corporate partnerships. Carissa really believes that building strong community partnerships is not only essential for effective service delivery, but also critical for long-term integration and resilience. So, Carissa, welcome. Thank you. And I'll pass it over to you for today's content.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for walking us through all those different things to help us prep for this morning's learning. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you about building bridges, community collaboration, and we have a lot of great stuff to go over today. You can see on this slide that we have our 3 sections that we'll be walking through. And I do recognize we have people coming with a lot of experience to this webinar. So some of this stuff might be a review, some of this stuff might be brand new, but I hope at least something stands out to you that you can take away today and start implementing in your work tomorrow. So excited to dive in. Hannah, you can go on to our next slides and we'll dive into the power of partnerships and continue on. So the power of partnerships. We're looking at community partnerships. We know we should start with some shared language. When we say community partnership, we're referring to meaningful collaborations between organizations working to support newcomers. So it's more than just the referral. It's this intentional collaboration to support the newcomers, and specifically as we're talking today, ORR eligible populations, and supporting them through trust, communication, and shared goals. You can keep going, Hannah. So why do we collaborate? It seems like a simple question, but there are so many benefits to collaboration, from reduced duplication to help smoother service delivery. And as we walk through all of these on the screen today, I want you to think about where you've seen these benefits of collaboration in action in your work that you've been doing. So first, collaboration reduces duplication. When agencies operate in silos, clients often have to bounce around and repeat their story multiple times. And by coordinating, we cut down on that wasted effort and make the process smoother for everyone. When we think about those who we are currently working with, who are coming with very intense trauma and are exhausted from starting their new lives, the amount of times that they have to tell their stories in order to make sure that they're eligible for services and access programming, it's a lot. So in the ways that we can reduce that for them, the duplication of just telling their story is going to be incredibly helpful for clients. Additionally, we collaborate because we don't want to do double the work at all these different agencies as well. So it helps us really focus in on who's doing excellent work and getting people connected to that work. Next, it improves coordination. So I like to think about it as you're building a relay team. I was a former track coach, so I think about that too. So instead of dropping the baton between agencies, we're passing it smoothly so that clients can keep moving forward without getting stuck. So if we have strong referral partnerships across multiple agencies, then that relay for services, especially in those crucial first 90 days, is smoother and the baton doesn't get dropped as much. Collaboration also fills service gaps. because no single agency can do it all, especially right now in our current environment where we are lacking capacity in a lot of areas, and we've seen different agencies have to close or reduce their capacity. We know that collaborating right now is incredibly important because it's going to help fill those gaps. By working together, we can connect clients to resources we don't directly provide and making sure that they are still served holistically. It also strengthens the community. When organizations collaborate, we send a message. This community is connected, supportive, and welcoming. That sense of unity makes a huge difference for newcomers when they see that people are working together to provide services together. Another benefit, staff well-being. Collaboration reduces the pressure of trying to be everything to everyone. It allows staff to focus on what they do best, while also trusting partners to cover the other areas. And that's healthy. That's healthier for both your staff and for clients. And finally, collaboration often aligns with funder preference. Increasingly, we're seeing that funders look for evidence of partnerships because they know that collaboration maximizes impact and sustainability. So a lot of times when you're applying for grants, then they'll ask you, who in your community are you working with? How do those partnerships work? Who are you referring people to? Do y'all support, do y'all support each other? They'll often ask for that information. And so collaboration really, really tells the story of your community context and helps for funders' preferences. So whether it's for clients or for our staff or our funders or our community, collaboration helps us move from working harder in isolation to working smarter together. Next slide, Hannah. So we've seen collaboration reduces duplication, strengthens our communities, supports staff well-being. But what does it actually look like for clients on the ground? So let's talk about how coordination can directly improve that service delivery. When agencies coordinate, services become easier for clients to navigate. Instead of feeling lost in the system, clients feel supported every step of the way. Think about a client who doesn't speak much English. Without coordination, they may have to retell their story multiple times, fill out the same forms at different offices, or wait weeks because their follow-up got mixed in all the chaos of all the work. That's exhausting and it's discouraging, not only for the client, but also for you as you're working with them. But when we collaborate, sharing information appropriately, streamlining handoffs, and communicating clearly, clients experience fewer errors and delays. Processes become more streamlined, and ultimately, outcomes improve. So collaboration isn't just about efficiency for agencies, it's about that dignity and the support for clients. And we know that when clients feel supported, they're more likely to stay engaged and follow through and thrive in our communities. Because following our clients, we would love for clients to be able to feel that support, know that when they engage in services, that things happen, that they get connected to who they need to get connected to. And so then they feel like they can actually engage, and there's not so much work on your end to have to continue to follow up and find them, that because they believe in the process, they believe in that support. Next slide. So also partnerships, another major benefit of that is that it allows us to build on what already exists instead of trying to do everything ourselves. So I briefly touched on this about reducing duplication, but also we often think that we need to create something new from scratch all the time. That's something that I also struggle with. I'm like, I want to start from scratch. I want to build it myself. I want to be creative. I want to think of all these things. But oftentimes, the solution already exists in our networks. Effective partnerships allow us to maximize what's already there, which is crucial, especially right now when resources are limited. So why recreate programming when local services already exist? Partnerships amplify access by leveraging existing infrastructure. For example, like ESL classes at libraries or food banks that offer lessons on healthy eating. We create a stronger safety net, avoid burnout for our clients and for clients and our staff, and we show funders that we're making smart and efficient use of resources. Next slide. So leveraging resources is about efficiency and making the most of what we already have. But partnerships do more than that, than save time and money. They also help us create a true sense of community for our clients. When we think back to how we started the webinar, Hannah mentioned the stuff that we were going to talk about, the stuff we weren't going to talk about, and then she had a section about together we will be curious, we will learn together. And also we were reflecting on our why. Community partnerships are part of our why. It's that community building. They create a true sense of belonging and community for clients. So that's what's also so important about this part of our work, is that it also is playing into that why. We want people to feel connected. We want people to feel like they belong, and we want to be a part of that. And when we work together, clients feel supported by the community and not just a collection of disconnected services. Partnerships, partnerships cultivate community. Programs that engage local stakeholders like businesses, faith groups, and volunteers build trust, belonging, and collective responsibility. That's something that I love, is that collective responsibility. Everyone feels like they have a reason why they're a part of it and they want to be a part of it. That collective responsibility is so crucial for the community building and partnerships. So for example, let's a newcomer family, the Rahman family, arrived to the US. This is an example of from when I was working in Memphis. At first, they felt completely isolated. They didn't know where to go for help, and that there was challenges with housing, language, and employment. All of that felt so overwhelming, as we typically know for clients and for ourselves as well. But here's where community partnerships made a huge difference for this family. The resettlement agency connected them to an ESL program at the local library, where they met another refugee family who told them about a neighborhood nonprofit that hosted community dinners. The Rahman family decided to join their new friends at this dinner and were actually connected to the local imam who was present at that dinner. They were then quickly able to get involved in the local mosque. And from that simple service of ESL connection, that we often think, oh, we just need to check that off our list. We need to get people this thing. We need to do this, and we just check it off. But from that simple service, they were able to start building community. The Rahman family remembered this experience and proactively approached other newcomers that they saw at the ESL program so that they felt welcomed. So they were able to feel as welcome as they did before. So instead of feeling like they were on their own, the Rahman family quickly began to feel part of a network of support. Each organization played a role in that, but together they created something more powerful than just checking off a list of services. They started a true sense of belonging for this family. And when a client feels like they belong, they're not just surviving, but they're starting to thrive. And we love to provide opportunities where clients can be a part of that community. And you see this in this example, they then want to pass it on as well. Next slide. So we've talked about the power of partnerships, the benefits of that collaboration, how it improves service delivery, leverages resources, and builds community. But the reality is partnerships aren't always smooth, and we need to acknowledge that both there are challenges and successes. Not every partnership works perfectly, and that is okay. What matters is how we recognize the challenge and address them constructively. So on the left, you see common challenges, communication breakdowns, maybe an email gets lost or no one knows who is supposed to follow up. There's maybe misaligned timelines. Maybe your agency is ready to move quickly, but the partner is on a different schedule. There are unclear responsibilities. No one is quite sure who is supposed to take the next step. So these things happen all the time. We know that. And they don't mean that a partnership is failing or that it needs to be canceled or turned off. It means that there's an opportunity to adjust, clarify, and strengthen the process. On the right, you can see that these are things that help make partnerships successful. Mutual trust, knowing your partner will do what they say they will. clear communication. So we're not assuming, we're not doing guesswork, we're just focusing on clarity, and defined roles. Each side knows what they're responsible for. So Hannah's going to open up the chat. And I would like you to take a minute to reflect. Think of a partnership that really worked well for your agency. What made it successful? And then think about a partnership that was maybe more challenging. Which of these challenges showed up? Recognizing both sides helps us build stronger pathways moving forward. So the chat is open. We would love to hear about what things have worked really well for your agency, what made things successful with a partnership, and what were some challenges that you had with these partnerships as well. And these can just be quick little, you don't have to have a whole paragraph or anything, but what are some things that have been really challenging with partnerships? Were they communication breakdowns mainly? Were there misaligned timelines? What made things successful? Was it the clear communication, the defined roles, or was it something else that's not listed on this page? Feel free to add it to the chat. Legislation change is one of the challenges. Definitely, we have that affecting this area of work for sure. Same organizational goal, setting up meeting time in a busy schedule is challenging. That's definitely true. Coordinating schedules and calendars can be something that is massively challenging. We are all taking on a lot of work and we are all incredibly busy. Changing time, participation rules the day before event. Yes. The follow-up, that can be something that really helps with success, or if it's lacking, can be the biggest challenge. Thank you so much for adding this information to the chat. We'll have a few other opportunities for you to engage in the chat today as well. So I see also, oh, same funding source. Having to be hyper aware of the funding sources as well is something that you have to think about. Things that have worked well was a warm handoff communication with the partner agency and client before referring the client to that agency. So a warm handoff is definitely crucial. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in this presentation. So thank you so much for engaging in the chat. We're going to move on. So in summary, as you can see, and you can, from the answers that you're putting in the chat right now, you'll see you know this. Building trust and collaboration for better client outcomes is so crucial to making sure that that partnership is most effective for the agency and for the client. It improves client outcomes, it builds an ecosystem, and it boosts capacity. So these are all things that we want, especially again, recognizing the current situation that we're in, and we're also getting close to a new fiscal year for a lot of us. So partnerships are definitely crucial. Thank you so much for still putting things in the chat, and we'll continue this conversation as we move on to the next section of referral-based partnerships. So next slide, Hannah. Thank you. So we're moving now on to the second section, referral-based partnerships. This is just a specific version of a partnership. So let's talk about let's talk about what makes referrals function smoothly. Next slide, Hannah. At the core, a referral isn't just about handing off a name or a phone number. Someone mentioned in the chat, a warm handoff is crucial, and that is definitely true. It's about creating a clear pathway for clients. So imagine being told just to call this number versus having someone walk you through the process, make the introduction and follow up afterward. One feels like a dead end, and the other one feels like a bridge. We also know this through our own personal lives as well. If you've ever been needing a referral from a doctor's office and they're like, just call, and you're like, oh, but do they know I'm going to call? Do they know that you referred me over here? Are they going to answer? Or am I going to have to explain all this stuff? So we know that a warm handoff makes an experience much, much more manageable and approachable. A strong referral includes a warm handoff, clear next steps, and follow through. So we want to make sure that the client feels guided and not abandoned, that they know exactly what to expect, and to make sure that the loop is closed and the client actually receives the support. And I do want to recognize these are the things that we can control. Sometimes there are things far out of our control and things that get in the way, things that mess up, and that's going to be part of the work that we're doing and part of life. But looking at how to build these partnerships and these referral pathways and controlling the things that we can is what's going to make a big difference for clients. So I understand that sometimes you're doing the follow through and the partner still doesn't doesn't engage. So still look at this as I'm saying, like, these are the things that we can control and let's focus on those. And then also, strong referrals rely on the 3 essential C's. And we're going to learn more about those on the next slide. So, the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, and confidence. Clarity, this is obviously crucial. Another C. Clear roles, ask, responsibilities, and why. Everyone involved in the referral needs to know their role. Who's responsible for the follow-up? What information needs to be shared? Clarity avoids confusion and missed opportunities. When roles are precise, like who handles the intake, who handles the follow-up, who handles documentation, then clients don't fall through the cracks. Next, we have consistency. Effective referrals rely on documented processes and regular touch points. Even informal partnerships benefit from scheduled check-ins and agreed upon communication practices. Somebody mentioned in the chat that follow-up sometimes with busy schedules can be really difficult. So thinking about what are the different, does it have to be a formal call? Does it have to be an in-person thing? Can it be, what is a way that you can have that follow-up that is approachable and realistic for what's on your current load and for your partner as well? It doesn't have to be something that is an hour-long call every other week, but what is a way that you can make sure you have that regular check-in so that you know there's a space for you to ask those questions and follow up on. So consistent follow-up via shared tracking or templates prevents the disappearance of referrals as well. Finally, with confidence, when we trust that our partners will follow through, we're more likely to then make the referral. And building this kind of trust does take time, but it's essential for that sustained collaboration. Confidence grows when partners consistently follow through. That's not only for who you're working with, it's got to be reciprocal, and you need to be doing that from your end as well. The confidence should be going both ways. Next slide. And look, we have a bonus C. So there's 3 essential C's. There's actually 4. Amazing. Confidentiality, along with clarity, consistency, and confidence, there's another critical C. And we can't overlook it. Confidentiality is so, so important. Whenever we make referrals, we are trusted with sensitive client information, and maintaining that confidentiality protects clients, respects their dignity, and also strengthens trust between agencies. Because when you know that you can trust an agency to handle confidential information, then you're also more likely to make that referral and spend time with that partnership. So this is why release of information's ROI forms are so important. They ensure clients give explicit consent for us to share their information. When we share only what is necessary, we protect clients' privacy and demonstrate professionalism. Confidentiality is not just about compliance. It's about building trust and maintaining trust. Clients are far more likely to engage with you and your agency when they know that their personal details are being handled with care. So we have the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, and confidence, but don't forget about confidentiality. That should be running through every part of this process. Next slide. So we've just talked about what makes referrals work in theory: clarity, consistency, confidence, and then our bonus C of confidentiality. But let's look at how these principles play out in a real life example. So I know there's a lot of words on the screen, but I just want to provide you as much context for this example. So a job developer reviewed the needs and abilities of newcomer clients and saw the need for more partnerships and with employers offering jobs for those with no to low English. The job developer approached hospitals, medical centers, and hospitality companies with a clear scope and ask. The outreach for this work was tailored to the employer needs. They need quick hires, candidates who could pass drug test, people who could start right away, and new hires supported by the program. The job developer prepared a concise one-pager, directly contacted the decision makers at their own agency and at the employer places, hospitals, medical centers, hospitality places, and highlighted how this program would be able to pre-vet applicants, assist with onboarding, and provide caseworker support. They also created a job readiness boot camp to teach safety words, physical job tasks, and workplace expectations, arranged site tours, and offered consistent follow-up with HR. The result: more job placements, stronger retention, client satisfaction, and improved program outcomes because of their involvement with with getting people connected to this type of employment. They were able to see the client satisfaction, improved program outcomes, and that referral partnership get strengthened. On the next slide, we will see how the 3 C's are played out in that. It's probably pretty obvious where the clarity was. The job developer identified the specific gap. They presented a targeted ask, and they also communicated the benefits of that simply with that one pager and said, this is how this will benefit you. This is how it will benefit the clients. And everyone knew what was going to be expected. Next, consistency. They gave reciprocal support to employers. So they said, hey, we would love to get clients connected to working at these places. And not only that, and you're providing that support by hiring them, but we will provide that support by maintaining contact with HR and supervisors as well. They also offered ongoing support for the newcomers and the company, and they built that reliability in that system of support. Confidence. Employers trusted the program because they knew that applicants were going to be pre-vetted. They were going to be supported with the paperwork, transportation, and follow-up. And supervisors knew that they would be able to have direct access to caseworkers for any issues. That trust encouraged employers to keep participating and to then recommend the partnership to others. Because they had built that confidence, then this program was able to grow because they were able to refer from their experience, hey, other people should be benefiting from this program as well. So you can see that from that example, how those 3 C's are in there. And then additionally, for confidentiality, the job developer made sure to have the appropriate release of information for each client, and also knew that the employers that they were partnering with were going to keep information confidential where it needed to be as well. So next slide. Again, the reality is there are still challenges and there are great successes when you're doing referral-based partnerships. Barriers are normal and they can be addressed. So on the left side, we see some of the typical challenges that come up with the referral-based partnerships. Sometimes partners have a very limited view of a client lifecycle. So they don't understand maybe the time frames that you have to work in because your grants are saying do this in this amount of time, do this in this amount of time. Your partner only sees, oh, they want access to employment, but they don't see all the other stuff that has to happen for what you're reporting on and what your agency has to do. And so that can be a really big challenge as well. And they may not be familiar with the ORR populations. And so there's a lot of learning that has to be done. And you're trying to figure out what does the partner actually need to know. Also, again, misaligned and misunderstood eligibility criteria. Somebody put that in the chat as well, just when those things change. It obviously makes things very difficult and makes it hard to trust that partner can follow through on stuff if things change, and additionally, if things are misunderstood. We know that the clients that we're working with are eligible for what they're eligible for, but even people who are working in the services that are providing that service as well, they might not know the whole scope of who's eligible for what. And so they might misunderstand that person, they're like, that person's not eligible for this because maybe they haven't interacted with that specific status or that specific person before. And so that can really be a challenge when you're making those referral-based partnerships. On the right, though, let's not forget what makes things successful. Referrals that go smoothly. Think of a referral that worked really smoothly for in your work. What made it work? Was it the clarity in roles? Was it consistent follow-up? Was it the confidence that you knew your partner was going to deliver? Recognizing both sides, challenges and successes, again, helps us to be honest about where partnerships need support and also where they shine. I think a lot of times when we're talking in webinars and we're doing trainings and we want to highlight, oh, this is what's working really well, which is super important. And we love to focus on the positive, but we know that when you work with others, there are going to be challenges. So in the chat again, can you tell me, have you experienced a time when a referral went smoothly? I sure hope so. What helped make that happen? Drop in the chat. Or you can also just, if you want to, just on a piece of paper by yourself, you can jot a note down too, and maybe I'll help you revisit this as well. So in the chat, what made a recent referral work really well? Was it the clarity, the consistency, the confidence, or was it something that we haven't highlighted yet? You can think about, was it the ask that was really clear and specific, like the one in our example? Was what systems do you currently use for check-ins that make things consistent for the partnership? When was the last time maybe you felt absolute confidence in making a referral? What made you trust that partner? So we have something in the chat. The clarity is what stood out and made something really process really smooth. The agency has a Google Sheet where we can see notes and services provided to the client. So then you know what's already been done. There's no duplication. That's great. Mutual interest. I love that. I feel like that plays into the confidence piece as well, for sure. Clarity, I'm seeing as coming up as well. Yes, being clear with the needs of and referral request makes things a lot smoother. I'm seeing clarity is the one that's coming up the most right now. Thanks for engaging in the chat and feel free to add more. And again, just thinking of the teamwork, yes, that collaboration piece is what's so crucial in this work. And the clarity, again, since we identified their referral process and had it on file, they knew exactly what to do and what was needed from them. Love that. I think clarity and having clear ask and clear roles is one of the most important pieces to referral-based partnerships and collaboration in your community in general. Okay, next slide, Hannah. So in summary, partnerships reduce that duplicate. In summary, that partnerships are more than just a name and a phone number. It's a clear pathway for clients. We want to focus on the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, and confidence. And then remember the bonus C of confidentiality. Clarity, remember, it ensures roles and responsibilities are defined from the start. And we're seeing that in your responses in the chat, how important that is. Consistency means communication and follow-up, making sure you're finding how is that going to work for that partnership? What's going to be the most attainable and approachable way to keep that consistency? And then confidence is builds when partners consistently deliver quality services and you can trust that you'll do what you can do and that your partner will do what they can do as well. Next slide, we're moving into part 3 of our webinar today. So here we're going to talk about putting this more into practice as well. So we've talked about the why of partnerships, the what makes things referrals effective. Now we're going to shift into the how. How do we actually put into this practice into our daily work? And this section is about applying those concepts, using the tools and strategies to strengthen real referral pathways. Next slide, Hannah. I'm going to ask you to engage in the chat one more time. Think about where partnerships, especially referral-based partnerships, are most needed at your agency. What area of the client lifecycle would benefit from a smoother connection to services? So add to the chat where you see the most need for this type of collaboration. What are areas that you see that clients need? Like, it's a service that you can't offer in-house. You need to make that referral. What type of service is that typically that you need to make that referral for? What area of the client lifecycle would benefit from smoother connection to services? Housing, I knew that was going to be one for sure. I'm sure we're going to see it a few more times at least. So housing is definitely where we see a lot of need for collaboration. Where else do you see that a smoother connection to services would benefit clients that you're working with? Cash assistance, language learning, childcare, legal services, absolutely. Health, mental health, legal, housing, social services, legal, yes. Starting own businesses, oh yes, definitely. And language barriers to language learning. Any other areas that you think that you would want to focus for this type of collaboration, the referral-based collaboration? Taxes as well, school. Thank you so much for putting things in the chat. This also helps us know too, what are areas that you are needing more support in as well. So as we continue this learning series, this is really helpful information for us too. Transportation. All right. Thank you so much for adding this to the chat. So how can we use that information to then start building these partnerships? One of the most useful tools that we have is Support Guide. If you were at our training last month, we did a whole webinar on the provider directory that we just launched. Thank you, Hannah, for putting that in the chat. Support Guide is designed to help you find and refer to trusted partners quickly and reliably. If you haven't explored it yet, please, I encourage you to go to the website, create a profile, and try out a few searches. The platform Support Guide offers two key features that I want to highlight. A searchable provider directory, which is what we learned about last month, and that webinar has been recorded, is on Support Guide. You can watch it as well. And then also an interactive Google map, which helps you visualize where the networks and see where resources are clustered on the map and stuff. This is especially valuable if you're trying to expand your referral ecosystem or identify new potential partners beyond the ones you already know. So think of Support Guide as both a compass and a map. It helps you know where to go, who to connect with, and how to strengthen the pathways for clients. Next slide. While we love and want to continue to promote Support Guide and the provider directory and the map that's there, partnerships also come from less formal community spaces. So think about, who do clients already know and trust? Who do they already engage with? Meeting clients where they already feel safe builds trust and reduces barriers. For example, partnering with a faith community where newcomers already gather for worship or fellowship can open the doors to services in that setting and make it feel more familiar and accessible for clients. Maybe at community hubs like libraries, cultural centers, maybe those things don't show up in a provider directory, but they're often where clients are going to go for information. And then additionally, coalitions or grassroots networks, they can help you connect to multiple partners at one time. And it gives clients more pathways to support without overwhelming them. So directory tools, like we mentioned for the Support Guide, they're helpful, but don't stop there. Continue to think about all the other ways that you might be able to find that untapped capacity. Refugee agencies working with partners like faith-based organizations, for example, support practical needs and often yield stronger integration outcomes. So we know that building that community is crucial for that long-term integration. Next slide, Hannah. So how do we use everything we've discussed and put in a simple, usable plan? Here's your action roadmap. You 5 steps, list out services and partners. Who do you currently work with? Where do you have gaps? Where do clients struggle? Or where do they face delays? And then visualize the connections between your agencies, and you can see where you're lacking. Spot those weak points, look for where confusion or silence happens or breakdowns happen, and then choose an action. Pick one relationship to strengthen first. It definitely can feel overwhelming when you realize, oh, there's a lot of connections that need to be made, and there's a lot of processes that need to be smoother, but focus out one at a time, so that you can make the small steps that create lasting impact. Next slide, Hannah. So again, we've just looked at that framework, those 5 steps I just mentioned for strengthening referral pathways. And you can see here, we've created this resource. We'll have it linked as well on support guide once the webinar is uploaded as well. You can use this worksheet that we've created. It helps you identify the service gap. It tells you to about like, you can look on the provider directory and be like, okay, my service gap is legal services, for example. Then you can look on the provider directory, do those filtered searches for your county and for legal services and see what is around, list out all the potential partners that maybe come up on that search, find the ways that you can contact them, and then identify what's going to be my next step. Is it going to contact that person, go to that agency itself, set up a phone call, do an email, see if there's anybody at my agency who already has that connection? So this worksheet helps you clearly see what your steps are going to be for making that referral pathway. This helps you turn that directory into a concrete action plan. So I definitely recommend having this worksheet with you as you look at the provider directory or other resources that you might have as well that would help you build these referral pathways. Next slide, Hannah.
Go ahead and keep going. It's giving me a little bit of a delay here.
Okay, great. No worries.
There we
So
go.
slide, oh, here we go. Awesome. We know change happens step by step. We know that oftentimes because we're in a rush, we're doing so much, we have so much on our plate. Maybe we fast forward and we skip some steps, but I'm trying to help this make it seem like you can do this as approachable, focus on step by step. Pick one partnership to strengthen this quarter or this month. You can either reconnect with an existing partner or reach out to a new one. Because sometimes we already have that partnership where we're like, oh, that worked really well. But then because of all these different things, we've lacked follow up. And we really need to focus on that consistency piece. So I'm going to reach back out to that existing partner. So I challenge you to make that personal commitment. Who am I going to reconnect with? Who am I going to reach out to? And focus on that for this next month or this next quarter, or especially as you're starting a new fiscal year soon. Definitely think about how you can personally do this in your work. So the next slide we have is open for questions. Hannah, did we have any questions submitted in the Q&A?
We have not yet. So folks, remember that that is open. You can add any questions there if you want. Also, you can raise your hand and we can help you come off mute to ask them verbally.
Yeah, we'd love to see your questions. Put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A function, or also raise your hand. If you are someone that needs some time to process all the information and ask questions later, that's why we have the feedback survey and our email available as well. So don't feel like this is the only time you're going to be able to ask questions. We definitely want to keep this as an ongoing conversation and make sure you're accessing the resources and know how to do that as well.
I saw a thumbs up. I'm going to ask that individual to unmute if they would like. I'm not sure if it was a confirmation that they liked that idea or a request to hop on and ask a question. So I've just asked you to unmute. If that was you, feel free. Otherwise, anybody else, raise your hand, put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A. We've heard in prior webinars quite a bit of requests for more time for Q&A, so we've allowed more time for that today.
I see
Yeah,
something in the
we have
chat.
one that's come in, yeah. Would it be possible to have a separate Zoom call or phone call to get assistance with accessing the resources on the guide? I had some hiccups when I was using it earlier this week. Absolutely. We're so glad you asked. I'm going to put in the chat window for everyone. We have support guide office hours. And if you run into a hiccup, you want a little bit more support. We've already had a couple calls with folks and it's been really beneficial. So you can use that link added straight in the chat. Schedule a call at a time that works for you. Tell us a little bit about what you would like to discuss or what's going on, and we'll be responsive and look forward to talking to you.
Yes, absolutely. Please use that. And if, as you're looking to schedule, if for some reason there's not an available time for you and you want to figure out something else, then you have our email that we would love for you to schedule. We can coordinate to make something that works for you as well. So definitely utilize the office hours, utilize the email for specific questions about the directory. But yes, would love to engage with you more on that if you have had some hiccups with it. All right, Hannah. Well, if there, again, if there are more questions, there are definitely more ways to engage and get those questions to us, and we'd love to connect further with you. So please, I will be sending out an email to all of you with when the webinar is uploaded and also with links of all the other ways that you can get your questions answered as well. Thank you so much for letting me share information today about referral-based partnerships and how they work as well. So we have a slide that's next, so just going to have the links to the resources that we have, and then also just some references that could be good for just talking about referrals and how important they are for the work that we're trying to do in our communities. These will all be accessible online on support guide, so don't worry that you don't need to click them right now or anything, but they will all be there, easily accessible for you. Thank you again for your time today. And Hannah, I'll hand back over to you.
Thanks, Carissa. Let's tag team for a moment. I see another question has come into the chat, and let's take a moment to respond to that before we spend a couple minutes at the end talking about what's to come. So we have a question. It's what specific actions do you take to make sure the referral will maintain confidentiality? I can respond. I'm sure you can. We can go either way.
Yeah, Hannah, go ahead.
Sure. Well, thanks for asking. And that is the bonus C.
Yes.
So first, I would say it's best done when you have the first three, right? So you know the agency, right, has you've worked with it, you've clarified, you're aware that the agency works with the level of professionalism that you can trust them, right? And if there's any concerns about that trust, you have the clarity, the consistency. You're having those meetings to say, hey, this is really important. If this doesn't continue to happen, we're not going to be able to continue this partnership, right, or this referral. So know that you have the ability to set those boundaries, but they're best when they're done in advance, right? Nobody wants a boundary crossing to be happening, and so you can have that there. The other thing that I would recommend is always, always, always have that release of information, right? So there's the confidentiality piece. The other side of it is really being specific of we're not telling another partner everything, right? We're only telling them the information that is necessary for a successful referral. And so that's really important. And with that, the other thing is you're making that warm connection. So you have the chance to remind them of that, to reinforce that on working organization to organization. You also have the opportunity to stay in touch with your client, right? If they feel like something's uneasy or they're not sure, make sure you're following up with them about their experience of the referral. So say, hey, how did it go? Was there anything that you didn't expect or made you feel uncomfortable? Right? We can ask those questions and navigate those really successfully in our client meetings.
Yes. And I would just add to, you're allowed to ask your partners, how do they do confidentiality at their agency?
Yeah.
So I think, especially if it's a brand new partner, definitely bringing that up in conversation and saying, "Hey, this is what we do. We'll be making sure that we have release of informations from the clients that we refer to you. Can you tell me about what your practices are?" So I think being explicit in the asking the question is going to be really helpful too, to see, oh, they haven't ever thought of this, and you might be helping them improve their confidentiality practices as well. So definitely just asking about it, I think is important for starting new partnerships. And if you realize, oh, I don't know an existing partnership how they are handling this information, again, you can ask them, and that can be part of your in your follow-up meetings, your consistent check-ins. So I would also recommend that.
I'll say one more element on that. I think that's especially common for small or new or nascent agencies to not really have thought about it because they've just been doing good work kind of on the fly, and then they became an organization to get funding to just keep doing the work, but maybe never transitioned their infrastructure, created processes or procedures. So, to Carissa's point, ask about it. And really, if they don't, so if you can, support them in finding it or connect them to a resource like us to support them in making sure that those partnerships last and are good. All right, you'll get all these resources, you'll get these reference links. Finally, today we've had the conversation on how to partner well. We're going to take a break to help you all start the new year or the new fiscal year. And then we'll wrap up 2025 with a webinar on motivational interviewing. Like I said, I can't get enough of it. I've probably sat in 20 motivational interviewing webinars and still get something for it every single time, even to support my regular relationships and the trainings that remind us. Finally, you've got on the screen here, grab your smart device, scan that QR code, or you've got the link there in the chat, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear what worked, what didn't work, what you would like to see different. If you have any follow-up questions, let us know. So thank you for attending. We are at the top of the hour. We appreciate you. We look forward to hearing from you, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.